أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وسهل مخرجهم واحشرنا معهم وارزقنا شفاعتهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. The most loved and the beloved deen to Allah is Islam. In our last episode, episode number 8 on Shia'ism, the natural outcome of Islam, we reached up to the Shuhada Karbala, SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA alayhim salam, their captives when they reached to Darbar Yezid. And at that time, Yezid was what words we can use? We don't have to express this grief that he was dehumanizing the lips of SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA, to whom Rasulullah Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to kiss. And the utterance of Yazid at that time was that had my ancestors could have been here, they could have seen how I have taken the revenge of the blood which Bani Hashim has killed our ancestors. And it was neither, na'udhu billah, wahi came, the revelation, nor any deen. It was a ploy and game of Bani Hashim. Na'udhu billah, 100 times na'udhu billah. In this episode, we are going to reach out the real consequences that led to Karbala. We see after the event of Mubahala, if we study ayat 61 of chapter 3, Surah Al Imran, which every one of us, most of us people know the event. From that onwards, after superseding the event and not participating in a debate or in a mubahala for the authenticity of Najran people faith and belief, when they walked over, they gave a walkover, not superseded, they in fact walked over. The correct word is walked over. Please make a correction. When they walked over, but you mean that after that they ever kept quiet? For example, we see that throughout history, right after the demise of the Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there have been plots against Islam. They were done. And the difference between the people of Najran, their faith, Nasara Najran, and the Jews, especially the Ashkenazis, who live in occupied land of Muslims, it has always been a proxy that in front there is somebody else to fight, and behind the curtain there are the people of Nasara. So we see here, when in one of the sermons and letters, Imam Ali alayhi salam has said about Muawiya, about his background, that from where you have got to come into our affair, because you do not belong to us. When Aminul Islam has said, there was some meaning in it. Of course there is a meaning in it. Now if we look and ponder into some deep studies, we will come to know that Muawiya was installed by the Roman emperors to divide the Muslims. And the Roman brains used to be the think tanks of Muawiya. There are some historical evidences to give evidence in this support. For example, if one looks at the Darbar Yazid today, which they call as Masjid ibn Umayyah. It cannot be called masjid, where there is there was a murder of Prophet Yahya, John the Baptist took place, and the respected and honored ladies of Ahlul Bayt were made captive. But the building that it houses, the palace, if one looks, then you will find it is on the architecture of a church, right? So you may draw a line between the Umayyad dynasty founded by Muawiya, and then who came to power, Yazid ibn Muawiya. A link between them and the Roman power of the time. Now, when we have claimed that there was some link, let us go in deeper lines, between the lines, to look out how we can create a linkage between them. We find over here that from the Roman power, there was among the think tanks of Muawiya named Surjone. He was among the brains used to run the affairs of the state. Historical records will reveal that Siffeen was a handiwork engineered by Surjone. His other name in the books that has come is Sirgeous, Surjone or Sirgeous. He was from Rome, and he was sent to Damascus as an advisor. The problem is that in Arabic he is referred as Mawla. Mawla has two meanings. Arabic is a very classic language. Mawla means slave, and the other name and other meaning of Mawla is Akha, sir, revered. It means, and most of the translators have translated Mawla Surjone as slaves, but in my studies and opinion on the subject of political science, it doesn't suit. What suits is, how can a slave be ruling over the king until that Mawla is a think tank, and he controls and he runs the seat of the, he's on the driving seat to running the affairs of the country. So Siffeen was engineered by Surjone or Sirgeous. Then after the death of Muawiya, when he appointed Yazid, Yazid took Sirgeous as his think tank, among his think tanks. And it was his ploy that in the matter of inviting to Hazrat Muslim to Kufa from Medina, and before that to put a question and mark to emphasize Yazid to take the allegiance of SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA ABDULLAHIL HUSAIN IBNE ALIع. These are all in historical records, because SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA was the last person of Mubahala, and at the time Surjone was very young. So he was there in the company of those people who came over there. Came over there means ideologically. He was with the people of Najran ideologically, right? So the first person who has uttered any word against Islam in the Orientalism and the Christian world, today we see so many ideologues, writers in the name of universities having a department of Western Orientalism. Everyone knows how their carve is and how they crave for the ideology to impose. That I need not mention. For details one can see to the works of Shaykh Murtaza Mutahari on that subject. Now, if we try to trace out the history, the historical background of forces and the brains working against Islam after Mubahala, the first open, nude, naked, aggressive expression comes from Surjone. And the sentence which Yazid has said, that neither the Wahi came, revelation came, nor Quran came, and it was all a ploy and game, Na'uzubillah of Bani Hashim, it was not in fact the original utterance of Yazid. It was a copied one. It was a copycat. It was cut and paste. The first time to have said this word, this sentence, this notion was Surjone, Sirgeous. And Sirgeous has told Yazid that you call Husain to Kufa. When SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA Abdullah has sent Hazrat Muslim, then Surjone gave the advice to kill Hazrat Muslim, and Hazrat Muslim with his sons. These three were martyred. Okay? So who was behind the killing of Hazrat Muslim? And then after the allegiance issue raised by Surjone giving advice to Yazid, Imam Hasan has left Medina, came to Mecca. From Mecca he came to Karbala, and all this happened at the instigation of Surjone. Now the history of the proxy powers destroying from behind the curtains has not stopped. Today also we see there is a proxy power. The real power behind to be enigmatic to Islam are the people of Nasara sitting in the transatlantic superpower, and their proxy is in the middle and center of the Muslim world, with the name who are occupying innocent Palestinian land, innocent Palestinians, and they are the Ashkenazi Jews. They are not real Jews. Jews are different from Ashkenazis. At some time in future I will throw light on who these Ashkenazis are and from which blood tree, the DNA they come from. For the being, it was sufficient to disclose the persons behind Karbala. Those who are working even now on behalf of the proxy of some superpower, we call them as servants. So those who killed SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA Abdullah salam, they were also not just the original killers, as they were in the proxy working for Roman Empire, Roman power, and their think tank to have engineered Siffeen and Karbala was Surjone, Sirgeous. So don't get confused that those who killed SYYEDUSH-SHOHADA Abdullah salam have two enemies, one on the screen, on the stage, on the dais, on the battlefield, which everyone knows. But very few people tend to drive this out and reach out to the real enemies of Islam. So don't get confused that because they were Nasara and Najran and they were from the Roman Catholic world, it was something Christianity versus Islam. It was not Christianity versus Islam. It was power mongering of the Western Orientalists. Because if you look to Surah Al-Maryam or Surah Al-Imran, and especially to Surah Al-Tahrim, 60th chapter, ayat number 8, we come to know that Islam tends to make friendly relations with all peoples of like, all people of religions, including Christians, non-Muslims, Christians and the non-Muslims. But Karbala was engineered by the Western powers, looking at the domination of Islam it was going to get after Imam Ali salam had come to power. Because people were remembering the rule, Salat, Saum, Hajj, everything of the era of Rasulullah Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So to destroy that, we find first the Jamal had taken place, followed by Siffeen, and in Siffeen we find the Roman brain in the form of Sirgeous or Surjone, and this is the same Surjone who became among the think tank staff of Yazid. So we were talking about the word Mawla. Mawla, one meaning is slave, but here the Mawla is one who is who's an administrator. He was the administrator in the Yazid rule. For the first time, where we come to know, at least where I came from to know all this, was from Taha Husain's Fitnatul Kubra. He is a Sunni, elited, broad-minded scholar from Egypt, and he, in his book Fitnatul Kubra, in 2 volumes, he has penned down the details. If you go to the historical records, that who has recorded it very openly with the name Sirgeous and Surjone, was Abi Mikhnaf in his Maqtal. Abi Mikhnaf died in 157 Hijri, and Abi Mikhnaf Maqtal, the reporter of the event of Karbala, on page number 22 and 23, I am quoting the Arabic version, from where you can get all this information. So inshallah ta'ala al-Mustan, in the next episode, we will come to know from this. We will trace out the lines of Surjone reaching up to the era of demise of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as how different plots were there. Of course, our first and foremost, like oxygen, our need is Shia Sunni Ittihad, unity. That we have to maintain, and in that light we have to throw a light on knowing our common enemy, who was not from the Muslim lot. We need to encourage our people to raise their awareness, awakening in knowing the real plots which Shaitan plays, which Iblis plays, so that we may be living a friendly, peaceful living. Because as I have said somewhere earlier, that no man is enemy of man, no man is enemy of any man, only Shaitan is enemy of every man. So this we have to keep in mind, as Quran Majid says, to warn us. His means are first, yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Here we have to be very careful, engaging in understanding the plots of Shaitan, Iblis. From hereafter we will continue our next part. It will be on some fictitious and fiction character labeled against Shias in its origin. Since we have come down all the way from Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam's time, that how Shias were there during the time of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as a group, loyal follower, beloved of Ahlul Bayt, as Hazrat Ibrahim was a follower, a beloved of Hazrat Nuh. So on those lines, there were the people during the time of Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then in the second phase, when Imam Ali was ruling, this lot became, along with Imam Ali, taking its political living, involving in political and administrative affairs of the Muslim nation. So the word Ali, for the word Shia, instead of just the loyal follower, it extended to applying Tashayyo in the political area and political arena when Imam Ali became the ruler, and those wars took place. Very unfortunate to say. And in that, those who were loyal to Imam Ali as first Imam, they were also there, and those who were with him in his lot against Shia'an Banu Umayya, Shia'an Uthman, Shia'an Muawiya, they were also those who accepted Imam Ali in the fourth position. So it was a hub and congregation of those two types of Shias, who are one, who are following Imam Ali right from Ghadir, under Ya Ayyuha Rasul Balligh ma unzila ilayk wa ma ballaghta risalatah, from that ayat sharifa, and there were others who came in his lot accepting him as the fourth ruler. So these were two types that we have mentioned earlier. And from here we will continue that how another seed was sown before Surjone, and who were behind that to sow the seeds of giving a fictitious name to be responsible for the birth of Shia'ism, and that was Abdullah ibn Sabah. So our next episode will be on the allegation that Shia'ism is the outcome of Abdullah ibn Sabah. Till we come back on that episode, please wait, please bear with. Thank you very much. التماس دعاء محتاج دعاء وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم وسعيد مخرجهم واحشرنا معهم وارزقنا شفاعتهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا ومعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل فرجهم وسهل مخرجهم واحشرنا معهم وارزقنا شفاعتهم.